West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast. West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. I'm one half of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, Machel and Santokie, and with me as ever is my partner in crime, Santokie Nagilendran. Normally, at this point, I'd say, Santokie, how you doing? But you know what? I have lived, Santokie, through so many eras of West Indies cricket, so many down bad days, so many down horrendous moments. It was us on the Caribbean Cricket Podcast who created the phrase "never a dull day" in West Indies cricket, right? And Santokie, ever since we created this podcast and kept repeating that phrase, which everyone now repeats, we always think after the latest "never a dull day," we always say, surely they can't do something else. Like, how is it, Santokie, that West Indies cricket is unbeatable when it comes to never a dull day in their institution, Santokie? Today it was announced that our new Test captain is Roston Chase, and not only that, our new vice captain, Jomel Warrican. I reckon, Santokie, that if you had taken a straw poll of 100 cricket fans in the region, some would have said Chase as captain, but I don't think anybody would have said, yeah, Chase captain and Warrican vice captain. I don't think anybody in the region would have gone with that or predicted, that would be the case without being, if they didn't have like an inside track to like people on the inside leaking them information. What's your gut reaction, Santokie? And it's a hard one because we can't just go to like a gut instant reaction, but what is yours on this big news?
Well, my first reaction is this is as you said, just when you think West Indies, we've reached the threshold for madness, they outdo themselves. For me, to appoint a man a captain who hasn't played Test cricket in over 2 years, to suddenly thrust him into captain when his record as an all-rounder isn't exceptional is a gamble, is a massive gamble. Obviously, as I'd first like to clarify, we wish all the best to Roston Chase. He is captain of the West Indies Test side. It is what it is. But for me, it's a mad move. I'd always just assumed, really, wrongfully now, that it'd be Josh De Silva or Tevin Imlach were the likely successors. However, they've gone with Roston Chase. And as you said, the double act, Jomel Warrican out of nowhere, vice captain as well. And it's a strange move, Mash. It's a very strange move for me. Obviously, they've said that this has been part of the new selection process. That they've matched certain criteria as they pass certain tests. But I'm completely baffled by it, Mash. I know a lot of people will say, Roston Chase's experience. He's played 49 tests. For me, that makes it even worse. He's experienced in mediocrity. Like for him.
Thank you. That's the Santokie. That line you've just said there is the banger line, because I've had too many people message me going, yeah, but Roston's got Test match experience. He's played 49 tests, and I keep thinking, yeah, but look his record. You don't boast about someone playing 49 tests if their record's no good. Like, that means he's played 49 tests of not doing much. Yes, I know the 5 Test match hundreds, but that was those 5 Test match hundreds. The last of those 5 Test match hundreds was 6 years ago, right?
Mash, to put it into context, since the start of 2020, so between 2020 and March 2023, when he played his last test, he averaged 17 in Test cricket. 17. And this is who we're saying. Obviously, he could surprise us all, but this is what we're saying. A man who's averaged 17 in his most 3 recent years of Test cricket is the guy who's going to galvanize the region against probably 17
with the bat, 48 with the ball. Come on, cuz.
This is mad. This is mad to me. This is. You know what? I know people will say, it's experience. What else do we expect? This is West Indies cricket, so you'll get people trying to justify it. But this is This is a down bad move for me. I'm shocked because I respect Bascom and Shallow and Darren Sammy so far what they said, their rhetoric. This is a mad move. So unless there's something going on behind the scenes and they've sort of uncovered some sort of thing with Roston Chase that they think makes him suited to leadership, it's a big move, Mash, to go in with Roston Chase as the captain. But Should we just read the press release? I've got it
Yeah,
here.
we have to because I need to pick the press release apart because I've got some issues with it. Do you want me to read it or are you reading it?
Yeah, you go for it if you got it up.
So I'm gonna fast forward to the key line. The process began because I think we need to break this down. Because in this press release, and like I say, we've got plenty of time for Miles and Kishore and Darren and Avanesh, and we have plenty of time for the people behind the backroom staff. But I think people need to understand that it's not a friendship thing out here.
No.
Like, we are balanced enough. Like, if we think there's something to say, we're going to say it, right? So obviously, this press release is boasting about the leadership process that and appointment process that they went through, right? It says this marks a significant evolution in how leadership appointments are made, aimed at strengthening accountability, transparency, and alignment with modern cricketing standards. They adopted a data-informed, multi-dimensional framework to guide the selection. The process began with a shortlist of candidates selected based on factors including test experience, leadership qualities, and captaincy credentials. The shortlisted players included John Campbell, Tevin Imlach, Josh Da Silva, Justin Grays, Roston Chase, Jomel Warrican. Shai Hope, the current ODI and T20 captain, respectfully declined consideration to focus on his existing leadership roles. Now, let's just pause there, Santokie, because I want to raise something. What I want them to explain to me, which nobody seemingly in the media has asked, so let Caribbean Cricket Podcast lead the way as usual. That means they headhunted the candidates, right? Reading between the lines, they headhunted and shortlisted 6 candidates in the region. No one applied for it, right? Shai Hope, they obviously headhunted, and he said, "Bun that. I'm not taking." He said, "Bun that one. I'm not taking on the Test captaincy." And I still believe, Santokie, that if Shai had said yes, he'd be the captain now, right? But because Shai said no, we're in a big issue now. Now here's my thing, Santokie. And this is the point I'm determined to argue. From the minute you have headhunted and shortlisted 6 candidates, you go into that process already thinking you know who you might want. I don't care what anyone says to me. Because you've gone through a process of shortlisting, you already in your head probably go in thinking, right, he's probably strong. We'll give this person an interview because we should, etc., etc. My personal belief is this, Santokie. They can tell me all they want about we did a top-of-the-range selection process, which is unheard of in the Caribbean, and we went through this metrics and this interview, and we looked at this criteria and that criteria. I don't believe it. I think from minute one, Roston was probably the person Darren wanted. From minute one, and this is the process just to determine it. Tell me I'm wrong, Santokie. I could be wrong.
But this is a big catfish as well, because Darren Sammy said in the build-up, obviously we got regional captains, who we're looking at ideally to take over. Obviously, Brathwaite captain Barbados. Roston Chase wasn't captain even in the Barbados side. So, what was the reasoning behind the whole regional captain thing? Are you basically diminishing the responsibility of the regional captains here by saying, all right, this man's not even captaining at a regional level? He played 2 games this season, I think, and hit a century against CCC.
Yeah, he did well. He did well in the 2 games he played. Yeah, I'm not going to try and
because against Trinidad, he went wicketless and I think he scored 11 and 47, which is the 47, I guess you could say. But he really picked up the century and 7 wickets against down bad CCC, and that was the only 2 games he played this season. So I'm assuming did he play first class games last year, 2024? He must have.
I think he might have played 2. But check this out. I'm going to throw something out there. During Super 50 at the back end of last year, so obviously Joel Bailey, who's our CCP correspondent in Trinidad, he does a lot of like post-match interviews for us on behalf of CCP. And in Super 50, he interviewed Roston Chase. I might have to drop the video to remind people or retweet the video. Yeah. And in that video, he asked Roston Chase, so this is back in November, he said to Roston Chase, so what are you thinking about in your career now? Because obviously you're playing Super 50 for Barbados. You're still interested in red ball. Santokie, I tell no lie, watch the video back today. In the video, Roston says, and I paraphrase it, Roston says, I'm not really focused on red ball. If Barbados asks me to come and play some games and I have availability, I'll come play some games. But really, I'm focused on white ball cricket. But if Barbados need me, I'll play. That's November last year, Santokie. Does that sound like somebody who was eyeing up a test return?
Exactly. This is what I mean.
All right then. Yeah. So am I wrong then, to Santokie, to suggest he was probably headhunted, no regional captain? If you headhunt someone who's not a regional captain, that's because you have them somewhere in the forefront of your mind. Yeah. They're not there just to be interviewed.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, so I'm assuming from this as well, he was the big mystery man that Darren Sammy was getting excited.
Yeah, he was the money in the bank man. He was the money in the bank man. All this time, we did a video getting mad excited.
Brandon King, Nicholas Puran, everyone out here was Roston. But you know what? That's a good story because the mystery man should always be someone you don't see coming, right? So
Yeah, true. Great. It's great long-term storytelling.
But Mash, let me go for this part in the press release because this part is madness as well. The final recommendation was based on a weighted scoring system across 6 key areas: leadership, respect within the team, cricket knowledge, personal conduct, media and communication skills, and the results of a psychometric evaluation. The top ranked candidates were recommended as captain and vice captain. So Chase and Jomel Warrican were top of the class. Mash, firstly, of these 6 key areas, actual cricketing performance isn't listed, or technical sort of ability. It sort of reads as if they've gone for a modern style of recruitment based on the fact that, from what they say, Chase can communicate well. He can talk well, basically, and he's respected within the team. But then, hold on, how are you respected within the Test team if you haven't played Tests for the last 2 years? So are they just basing it on his credentials in other sides, in white ball sides, or just generally in the locker room, and in any cricket he plays is respected? It's a very, very ambiguous sort of selection criteria process they've used, in my opinion.
That selection process for me suggests you're picking a specialist captain. You're not picking a player who you think, because it all depends on where people think cricket lies and we have to move forward in life, right? Maybe there's an argument to say that the way that captains were picked in the past is no longer relevant for how you pick captains in this era in 2025 and moving forward. Maybe this system that Cricket West Indies are boasting about, because Kishore said this selection process is one of the most comprehensive and forward-thinking we've undertaken. I'm deeply impressed by the professionalism, objectivity, and strategic thinking that shaped the final decision. It sets a new benchmark for leadership appointments in West Indies cricket. So I'm taking that to mean that how good of a player you are is now irrelevant to whether you're going to be a captain in the West Indies team. If you can make a team on ability is now irrelevant to whether you're going to be a West Indies captain, because we'll get to it, but there is a legitimate argument to say, how does Roston even get in the side right now? There's a legitimate argument to be made. Now, obviously, he's going to get in, but there is an argument to say, well, who's he getting in for? And we'll get to that point in a minute, right? But I'm with you. When I read that press release, I said, so hold on, where's cricketing ability in this psychometric process? And where's the other thing that they said? So personal conduct, media and communication skills, and a psychometric evaluation, which I would assume is testing things like ability to cope under pressure, cricket knowledge. But if they said to me, you know what, Mash, we're basically selecting a captain who's a specialist captain because they're such a great leader on paper, they may be able to galvanize an extra 1% out of the team. That's fine. If they said that to me, I'd go, okay, I hear that. But then I'd need them to admit to me that their personal performance doesn't matter whilst they do that.
Also,
because
even if you said to me that line, we're picking a leader based on galvanizing the side, I'd say, why have you picked Roston Chase? Because hear me out, like Kyron Pollard, when he came into the West Indies set up in 2019 as the captain, he hadn't played for West Indies cricket recently, right? He sort of his leader, but we've seen what he'd done in the IPL, CPL with Chimbago. That leadership was
globally recognized captain around the world. So,
what are you using as a basis? There's nothing to suggest so far that Roston Chase at any level, any franchise cricket, regional level, is an outstanding captain, unless there's something going on behind the scenes. So even if
no. So people have said to me, but Mash, he captained the West Indies A when they played Nepal A, or they played Nepal. But people have said that to me, and I'm looking at them. I'm looking at them like, hold on.
I'm out of here, man.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm looking at them like. Come on, man. Like, it's better you just say you want him to be captain because you just want him to be captain, rather than come with nonsense.
Another thing is, bear in mind, he's 33 years old, so he's not. Obviously, I'm not saying he's super old, but he's someone who essentially traditionally will be coming towards the latter part of his career. So for him to have generally the inexperience as a captain at an international level, he's captain one ODI and one T20 or something like that for West Indies. The general inexperience combined with the fact he hasn't played Test cricket in 2 years. You picked a 33-year-old who hasn't played Test cricket in 2 years, whose average is 17 in the last 3 years he did play Test cricket. You picked him to lead West Indies into the next era, next generation. This strikes to me as a very short term.
Very short term. Very
but
short
why
term.
have
Do you
you,
know how short term it is?
taken a gamble in the short term? Because I can understand if you go with Josh De Silva or Tevin Imlach, guys in their mid-20s, you're saying, okay, cool, we're taking a gamble, but the payoff is these guys could play for West Indies for the next 7-8 years and lead the side. You're building something. Why have you taken a short hit on a Roston Chase when it's not guaranteed to come off? Like, there's not really nothing to say. Even if you've gone, we talked about Kimar Roach being the short-term possibility because of someone like that. You can see Kimar Roach has obviously played Test cricket regularly, and you can see his leadership credentials. They're quite obvious. So I'd have less of an issue even with that than if you're going to take a hit on a Roston Chase, because what are you hoping for him to do? Like, I don't understand.
Let me expand on that short-term point. This is how short-term it is to me. They can't be thinking, any longer than the 2025 to 2027 World Test Championship cycle, right? Which is fine. If Darren's like, I want my captain for the World Test Championship cycle and it's Roston Chase, cool, right? But 2 years from now, when the World Test Championship cycle's over and Roston's 35 going on 36 and Sammy's done 2 years as multi-format coach, this is what I foresee happening, Santokie. Yeah. And this is why I'm surprised at what they've done. 2 years from now, Sammy will probably step down from one of his responsibilities, if not more than one, right? Because he would have he would have had no break in 2 years, just doing format after format after format. So I see Sammy stepping down after the World Test Championship cycle. I see Roston stepping down after the World Test Championship cycle. So in 2 years' time, where we won't be any further in the captaincy metric, we'll be back at square one, because then we'll have a brand new head coach and a brand new captain based on this forward-thinking captaincy metric thing. But what would we have learned in the preceding 2 years?
The thing I'm confused about is, so Jomel Warrican's 33, right? So surely you'd go with a younger vice captain to.
You would have thought so. You would have thought the natural thing to do is pick one of the young blood and say, you know what? Like, this is what I would have done, Santokie. Let's just say for a moment their process is completely legit and they've done a really profound and really like deep, far-reaching process to get to this. Hear me out. Let's just say Roston topped all of that and he's now your captain. Okay, cool. Would you not then look at one of the two young bloods, so Imlach or Josh, and say, right, which one of those two scored better in this metric thing? And they just leapfrog whoever's next.
Yeah,
you just go, well, they're the best of the young blood. In you come. Does that not make sense?
Yeah, you'd essentially use it as almost like an apprenticeship kind of thing, whereas you're that person, you're coming into, because like you said, in 2 years, if Sammy steps back, Roston Chase steps down, Jomel Warrican will be 35 years old. So what are you saying? Like, who's going to take over? And also, Warrican, I know he's been in a test side recently. In the last 2 years, that same period, Roston Chase hasn't played the test. Warrican's only played 4 tests, so he's not even been a test stalwart himself. So what are we saying now? Are we saying they've cashed in for the next 2 years? Warrican and Roston Chase have to be the first two names right now.
Well, basically, that's what they've put themselves in the bind now, Santokie. Moti's international career is done, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of Test cricket, because you're now basically saying in every match we now play in, we have Roston as an off spinner and we have Warrican as a left arm spin, and we have to, well, not have to, but I mean, the implication is they're playing in every Test match now, right?
Well, also, I guess with Josh De Silva, he went in as vice captain for Pakistan and got dropped. So you could have that, but at least for the next 2 series, Australia and India, Chase and Warrican have to play in every test.
They have to, at least you'd think, right? So what I would just say is, let's defend them for this little bit here. If they've made this decision based on who are the best 2 options for the next 2 years of the World Test Championship cycle, and that's all we're thinking about, then you know what? As critical as I might be of it, at least it's just with that short-term window in mind. But they didn't say that, right? They didn't put that in the press release. But if that's what this is about, it's just like, we've looked at who are the best 2 options just for the next 2 years leading up to the end of the World Test Championship cycle, I'd be more inclined to go, whether I agree or disagree is irrelevant, because it's so short-term that I get it. But I will always go back to my main point. surely there has to be a long-term process in mind, because otherwise you will always be back at this same juncture 2 years from now. Oh, we've done a really in-depth application process and interview process and psychometric tests and this, that, and now it's these two. And it's like, oh, okay, well, all right. Maybe it is. Let's talk about
the only thing I can think of is if they're foreseeing that this World Test Championship will be used to divide it up for the next one. So you have Division 1, Division 2. And so they're thinking, who are the two guys who can try and keep us in Division 1? That's the only, but at least you'd at least, like you said, try and communicate that a bit clearly, because there was nothing to suggest there was some sort of short-term thinking. So it's an interesting move. Also, it completes the hat trick of Barbados having captains for the Test side. You also had Holder, Brathwaite, Chase, and you got a Bayesian vice captain. So Barbados is up. Barbados is up now when it comes.
Let's see if Barbados spend the next year complaining about everything Cricket West Indies do, because right now Barbados is dominating the whole of West Indies cricket. They got all the commentators. They got all the commentators. They got all the captains. So they're dominating this thing out here right now.
Oh, yeah, the mecca of cricket, man, is getting people out here everywhere. Man said the commentators as well, you know.
But check this out, Santokie. Let's just briefly talk on this. Whose position is Chase taking? Now, a lot of people have messaged me and gone, he's taking Kevin Sinclair's position. But I keep saying, no, he's not, because Sinclair's not in the team to begin with. Sinclair only played in Pakistan because it was a raging Turner and we just had to play as many spinners as possible, right? In a normal West Indies team, Santokie, we have 3 pace bowlers and 1 spinner in a normal West Indies team, right? So now you're looking at that being Warrican, Seals, Shamar Joseph, Kimar Roach, but maybe Alzari Joseph in there at some point. But that's probably your four-man attack, right? That means Chase is getting in this side somewhere in the top 6 because Imlak's number 7, right? So who's coming out the side for Chase? So remember the batting lineup versus Pakistan was Brathwaite and Louis. We assume that Louis coming out for John Campbell. So that's that. So then we go to Django at 3, Hodge at 4, Athnaze at 5, Graves at 6. Because Chase is now captain, one of them 4 just have to come out the side. Who's coming out, Santokie?
Hodge. I think Hodge will go.
You reckon?
And they'll put Chase in coming in at 4 or 5 as the batter, because for me as well, I think Holder will come in for Graves, right, against Australia.
Well, that's even a question in itself, because I'm hearing from some people that Holder's not getting in the Test team anymore. Ooh. But if Holder makes himself available, he's better than Graves. So, and remember, Santokie, this is before we even talk about people like Shea Hope. Is he now done with Test cricket then? Because he didn't come to this captaincy thing? Is Brandon King getting a look in? Is Sammy about to rip up this whole thing? This is just on the captaincy. But is Sammy about to rip up this whole thing and just bring in a brand new team?
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, because even a John Campbell, it looks likely because he's been interviewed for the captaincy. You'd imagine he's in their plans. But then, like you said, where does that leave a Brandon King as coming in, a Shea Hope coming in? There's a lot of options coming in. So it'd be very interesting. But I think they'll persist with Athanaze, obviously, because he's being groomed as sort of the long-term middle order guy. So I think Hodge is most at risk. Whether people
you think Django's keeping his spot?
Yeah, Django. You can't. I think Django's keeping the spot because he's a Sammy guy, right? He just came in for the Test.
True, played in the ODI, scored the century on the Sammy.
Yeah, exactly. You're not dropping Django, so it has to be Hodge for me, unless you're going to drop Graves. But then you wouldn't drop You wouldn't drop Graves as the medium pace all-rounder for Chase coming in with spin.
Okay, so then let me ask you this. And like I say, it's important that we remind people that as much as we can criticize this process on the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, that's not going to stop us rallying. We're still rallying behind the team regardless. So whether Chase is captain or not, and whether we agree with it or not, is irrelevant. We're still going to rally. But check this out, Santokie. You just gave the stats of Chase's record in the last 3 years of Test cricket, averaging 17 with the bat, 48 with the ball. Let's say, because he's now in charge against Australia, 3 at home versus Australia, 2 away versus India, 3 away versus New Zealand. That's assuming he stays fit. That's 8 Test matches this year with him as the new captain. If by the end of 2025 he's averaging 17 with the ball and 48 with the 17 with the bat and 48 with the ball, what now, Santokie?
I hope it's Sammy. You still interested in that captaincy job, yeah? And you know what's a tragedy, yeah? Like, if you're looking at sides, yeah, Australia named their test side against the West Indies, yeah, you could most 90% of cricket fans could predict that side because of the stability. We're out here top 6. We don't know if any of these 6 man are even the current top 6 are even going to make it to Australia. We don't know what's going on. So never a dull day in West Indies cricket. You know, I just wish that we'd have one normal day in West Indies cricket, but I don't think it's
one. I'd like Caribbean Cricket Podcast.
I have to give Mash his flowers as well, because 2021, before BBC, before Wisdom, before ESPN, Mash, you got the scoop that Craig Brathwaite was taken over from Jason Holder. And today as well, CCP were the first, before any outlet in the whole world, we announced obviously that Roston Chase was taken over as West Indies Test captain. So, you know, CCP, man, we know what we're doing. We're not just joke men out here, you know. We come with that news. When we say something is happening, it's happening.
Basically, so, if CCP says something is happening, you better believe it must be happening in West Indies cricket. There's no point in waiting for ESPN to confirm anything on West Indies cricket. We'll confirm it before them. In fact, they might say something and we'll know if it's true or not, basically, before they know. But the thing is, Santokie, on the real one, how crazy is that we know stuff before ESPN? Yeah, like we actually know stuff on West Indies cricket before they ever know stuff on West Indies cricket.
Even any outlet like that. But then I guess that sort of shows you that how much interest most outlets have in West Indies cricket, basically. Like the fact that we're the only ones who sort of bothered to find out that this was happening, because most journalists can use their contact books if they want to find out this information, right? Before the official. True. But none did, exactly. So this is what it is, Mash. Roston Chase is on the island tour, is in the ODI series.
Yeah, he's out in Ireland right now. For all I know, because they're in the same time zone as us, for all I know, he's listening to this, sharpening up his bat, ready to knock me for 6 when I get to Ireland.
Anyway, Mash, we're gonna, you know what? We might have to do a live show in the coming days to get the people's reaction to this.
This is a mad one,
but you know what? Friday night, let's get a quick bit of content out. You know, the content never stops here at CCP. Like, comment, you got to share, subscribe this one, because you know, 100 bagger channels are going to be dropping these captaincy videos in the next 24-48 hours, all in the same style as CCP, but you know, no one does it like CCP. Follow us Instagram, X, Blue Sky, TikTok, patreon.com/Carib Cricket. Hit us up if you don't want to donate anything on Patreon. You can hit us up on PayPal. Email us caribcricket@gmail.com for any sort of inquiries. We're on Facebook as well. Mash, final words.
Yeah, as Santokie says, people, sponsorship, people, seriously, we actually need it. I'm not even lying. We're going to Ireland, so we could really do with some support for that. As Santokie says, PayPal if you want, super chat, super thanks on YouTube, Patreon, www.patreon.com/Carib Cricket. And a little bit helps and counts towards the growth. But more importantly than that, actually just run up the likes, run up the shares, run up the subscriptions, run up the bell notifications, run up the comments, because all of that helps the channel grow. Listen, we'll be back very, very soon, because never a dull day in West Indies cricket. For all we know, you're going to hear that one of us is in the test squad. So, so never a dull day. We'll be back very, very soon with some more content. Peace.
West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast. West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast.